What's funny is that's all I pull. All I pull is Scorpio boss who are mean as fuck.
Warning! This is for entertainment purposes only. This is not medical advice. Although I'm a doctor, I'm not your doctor yet. If you want me to be your doctor, click the link in the description box. But otherwise, this is just for fun, kids. Don't do this at home. You're watching Dr. Todd Lee TV, where theoretically you could learn a bunch of cool shit.
You're extra happy today. You seem extra happy today.
It's because I'm not
blue.
No,
you're white, like super white. No, you look like if one of Tim Burton's animated characters came to life. Which I guess would be like saying...
It's not totally wrong. Oh, now I'm blue.
Be like telling you look like Helena Bonham Carter, but you look better than her. But you definitely... Because you ever notice that all of his female characters look kind of like her? And then they went... Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
His wife...
It's because I'm so white that I'm see-through, so it just...
Did you ever notice that Tim Burton looks like a Tim Burton character?
No.
You should check it out.
But I love all of his characters.
Check it out. Like, look back at him, and he looks like his own character. He looks like he could do... He looks like Edward Scissorhands. Like, Edward Scissorhands looks like Tim Burton.
Oh, he does. Yeah.
You have to go back in time, though. You'd have to look at pictures of him from the late 80s. I believe Edward Scissorhands was 90, because Batman was 89, and I think Beetlejuice was 88.
How do you remember that?
I watched them in the theaters. I'm that old.
I watched things in theaters. Doesn't mean I remember the dates they came out.
I watched all the Tarantino movies the day they came out. I saw every Tim Burton movie. I used to think that if you didn't see a movie the day it came out, you weren't a fan. Because you had to see it before someone spoiled it.
I would never be a fan of anything.
Because otherwise people will spoil it for you. They'll tell you what happens. I wouldn't watch previews either. Like, I never would watch. I would only show up to the theater late so I didn't see the preview, because I don't want to be told what to watch. I already decided what I want to watch. And then I would go watch it, and I'd see it before anyone else could tell me what happened. Because I'd see it the day before it came out at like midnight.
I can't do... I stress so bad that sometimes I'll Google the ending of something to make sure it has a decent ending so it doesn't dampen my mood before I can even finish the movie. Or if I decide to finish the movie, I have to know how the whole thing ends.
So weird.
Like, I watched Joe Black, which is like a really old movie, and I watched that the other night, and I was like, I need to know.
With Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt, right? Yeah.
Yes.
That, Malevolent Creation did an album about that movie.
That movie was way deeper than what I was anticipating. So I just wanted to watch Brad Pitt.
No, it's definitely not. It's definitely not that kind of movie. That Brad Pitt's an actual actor.
No, it stressed me out. So I had to pre inform myself of the entire thing. I was like, I don't know if I can do the rest of this. This is going to stress me out. I have to know how it ends. And I'm terrible. I'm horrible to watch movies with.
Mm-hmm. So we had one question that I saw. Did you get... Excuse me. Somebody called me before noon and woke me up. So I couldn't fall back asleep. So I did everything right, and then some motherfucker called me and woke me up. And yes, I set my phone to do not disturb. It just doesn't work.
I'm just glad I wasn't the one to wake you up.
You've never called me early in the morning. Yeah.
Early.
It was like 10:30. It's fucking ridiculous. It's like negative time. It's not even like the day starts at negative 1. Like 1 is called 1 for a fucking reason. That's the beginning of the day. Is that your dog in the background, or did like a chair explode?
Oh, no, that's... Oh, I think his balls are hanging out, but that's his leg.
Wait, is it
They all sleep.
A Chinese ridge dog? What is it called?
Chinese Crested.
Chinese Crested. It's a fucking weird ass dog. This is so weird.
I love them so much.
Like it just so reminds me of one of the creatures from the labyrinth. It's like
I had to go Google to see to compare the images, and it was the hair.
I texted you about it. I'm like, she's not gonna know what the fuck that is. She doesn't know Jennifer Connelly's first appearance.
99% of the references you make, I have to double check on Google.
That's normal. I'm ultra nerdy. Ultra nerdy.
Insanely good memory.
Thank you. According to Vicky, I've destroyed my brain by overdosing on Tren. So it's amazing that I can remember anything. Yeah.
He hasn't complained about you in like 24 hours.
We'll fix that. I don't even say his name anymore. I just call him Icky Vicky. So I think you'll like this shirt. Because
I love all the shirts that I should have worn a cool shirt today.
It's like everyone bitches like T-Rex is a loser because of his arms. And now he's got the old people grippy things. It's like, now I've compensated.
If you don't have those, you're missing out.
I've compensated for my weaknesses. It's like, what I want to have is like an extendo, like what do you call it? The Spider-Man jizz that it just like squirts out of your wrist and then you can pull things in your hand.
Out.
Do you know what's funny is like, it's cool in movies. If you actually did that in front of a girl, she'd like throw up and run away. Like,
yeah, that'd be gross to see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you gave it that thought, though.
Yeah, it's like, what can you get away with in public? And that's not on that list.
Well, I'm just thinking anything that having to like open up and expel is probably not attractive.
Like what do you call it? A stoma on your wrist that squirts out some type of
no one wants to see that.
Jizz. Like it's like you could do porn, but that's about all you could do.
That'd be a whole different level.
It'd just be like a compilation video of you just doing that in different girls' faces.
Opening up your hole,
squirting. Those face shots out of your like wrist face shots. Yeah, that would be
engulfing face shots. You can.
Yeah, you'd have to get them a straw though that go into the side, so that if you covered up all three holes, that they don't suffocate.
They still breathe.
All right.
Safe practices.
So now that we've covered porn this episode, do you have any questions?
We do. There's a lot of variation because I was responsible and I actually made the post. So
God knows I'm not.
Sometimes I'm like, oh no, and I'll have to go through and just find TikTok comments that I've gotten. So
I know, this is gross.
Okay, first one. Beta blockers versus ARBs to prevent LVH and control blood pressure.
Well, beta blockers are going to slow your heart rate, so it's going to make you a sucky athlete. That's the biggest issue. So ARBs is always the way to go.
And I think ARBs, there's going to be a lot less like contraindications with them as well. I think ARBs are pretty much the standard for everything unless you have an issue with heart rate.
Lisinopril is cheaper, so that's the first line drug for most people. Although for athletes, it should always be telmisartan. And then most doctors don't know about telmisartan, so they'll just prescribe losartan, and then they'll argue rather than give you telmisartan. So it's just easier to either go through me or just go to a normal other channel and get your own telmisartan.
Yeah, most physicians are not even going to consider that as going to first line, and that's kind of an industry standard.
Generally speaking, going to your doctor that's not me, or maybe a good other physician at like Fusion, Regenerative Therapies, they're only going to get bad service. They're going to order the wrong blood work, misread your blood work, misdiagnose you, and prescribe you the wrong medication that's going to hurt you and make it harder to achieve your goals. I would say 99% of the time. Like, obviously, Dr. Eric Serrano knows what he's doing. I would think Adam Hodgkiss knows what he's doing. But, that's pretty much it. I mean, you always want to go with an ARB. The fact that someone's asking this scares me because it means that the industry standard of education is so low that they would consider a beta blocker a reasonable option. That's like one of the worst things you could possibly take if you're an athlete.
And it's going to be ARBs have a lot of edge over other hypertension management techniques in general. Okay, I got like 3 or 4 of these, and they were all phrased a little bit differently, but basically they wanted to know, when is Dr. Lee going to come out with more dating advice videos? And will he be including dating advice here?
Is this a woman who asked this? Or?
And they were females, by the way.
All 3 of them asked that. That's crazy. So you're saying people actually saw my video on Colton's channel about dating advice, and I don't talk about it on my own channel because I'm like, oh man, if women see this, they're gonna poison my dog. Like, there's no way that I'm gonna, like, Mrs. Peabody is gonna be dead if women see this video. Good thing it's on Colton's channel. Little did I know.
You think you don't reach females, but man, people. I had a consult call earlier this week, and they're like, "Hey, I was watching Dr. Lee and X, Y, and Z, and this is what I had questions on, and they follow you."
After the dating video, I got like friend requests, or what do you call it, follows from actual girls on. And I didn't even post the dating episode on my own social media. I was like, I want to stay as far away from this as possible. And then like Colton's like, girls are DMing me that they want more of your advice. I'm like, the video is for men. Like it was like, why would women want my dating advice if it's strictly for men? I don't know how to fuck.
I was crying laughing. Like, I was dying laughing. It's the first 5 minutes, just hearing you say boss bitch made me, I was like tearing up in laughter.
What's funny is that's all I pull. All I pull is Scorpio boss bitches who are mean as fuck. And it's like, that's how I know that's not what I want. It's like, how do I keep getting the same girl? How do I get 13 Scorpios in a row that are all mouthy and mean? It's like, how?
That's awesome.
It's so weird. It's like,
next one was, does Anavar virilize even at low dosages for low duration?
Colton texted me today wanting to do it today. So, and he puts it up the next day. So I'll probably film an episode on Colton's channel for dating tomorrow or the day after. I still don't.
Another dating one?
I don't know if I'm gonna share it to my own social media. It'll be like my dirty secret. Well, I guess people are hearing about it on my channel right now, but yeah, Colton's channel will be the only place I'll put those. I'm just scared to share them. I mean, I shared it to my YouTube. I just didn't share it to my Instagram. Yeah, I don't want to share it to my Instagram because I don't think there's any overlap. I don't think the Instagram crowd is actually watching my YouTube.
I mean, clearly, I think so. Man. I would think you should do a whole one on exit strategies from relationships too, like purely exit strategy.
Not like leaving the premises exit strategy, because that was a funny story. So I was dating this Scorpio, U.S. Army captain, and it was like we were watching this show, one of her shows, of course, and it was about just some sappy relationship bullshit with like these women, who's trawling these women and how they're unhappy, and then they're crying about the relationship, and this woman's baby dies, and so I'm crying, and she looks at me and she's like, why you gotta cry like a bitch? And I was like, because the woman's baby died, and it reminds me of all the miscarriages I had. And then she's like, man, so she's like, she basically made fun of me for crying about my dead babies and her dead babies. And so I was like, I'm out. And I was like, fuck you, bitch. And I got up and I started walking out, and she ran and she blocked the door with her body. And she was like, I'm not letting you leave. And I'm like, this is kidnapping. You're not allowed to restrain me in your home against your will. That's kidnapping. It's a federal crime. And if I report you for kidnapping, you will lose your commission. And as an MP in the U.S. Army, you know that I'm correct about the law. And then so she stood aside and opened the door for me, and I left. I never saw her again. I was like, so she got dumped on the spot.
The women,
on the spot. Do not make fun of me for crying because some woman's baby died. Like, that's completely inappropriate to make fun of someone for that. So yeah, exit strategies. That was like my physical exit strategy, is that you have to cite the law about kidnapping so that they have to let you out of their home. Other than that, like, that's once I was building a human-sized cage for a girl in her basement. when I was inside the cage building it, and I was like, why do I fit in this cage? And I was like, is the cage for me? And I basically I like sabotaged the inside of it so I could knock the bolt off from the inside if I ended up getting locked in this cage at some point, like if she poisoned me and shit and pulled me into the cage in their basement. No, I finished. Well, I didn't want to get beat. I knew I would get beat if I didn't do a good job building the cage, but I had to create a way out of the cage in case the cage was for me. I was hoping the cage was for someone else. I don't pay attention to what she did on the weekends. So
I'd be so curious on the interactions with these women from outside of your perspective, like how I would view them if I met them on the streets, because
none of these girls got along with other women. They would just give you a dirty look and keep walking.
Makes sense.
Like they don't want any other women near a man. They want to keep them all to themselves. Yeah. Do you have a lot of female friends?
I have a few very close female friends. Yeah. I always want to be friends with women, and they don't want to be friends with me. I think I'm friendly.
You seem like you'd be friendly.
There's a girl at the gym, and she had really cool shoes. And I was like, oh, she's like short. She has tattoos. And I was like, I like your shoes. And she like scoffed at me, and she goes, thanks, like with a question mark. And I was like, I fucking take it back. Your shoes suck. I hate you and your skank. I didn't say that, but I was trying so hard to be nice. She didn't take the compliment very well.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Girls are so not nice to each other. If I said I like your shoes to a girl, they'd be like, oh my God, thanks. Like that's one of my
That's what I was expecting.
Go-to compliment, because you can't get in trouble for complimenting their shoes. Or I really like how your bracelet matches your earrings, or something like that. Like those type of compliments that you didn't say anything about her boobs or her butt or her legs or her lips or anything that could be construed as sexual, or I love that hair color, something like that. And so it's like, if you have nothing to break the ice with, nothing, just pick something on them that's not sexual and compliment it. And if they,
I regret telling her I liked her shoes. I would have preferred to tell her she had a camel toe and her arms were small. But
so if they smile and they stop and they square up, then they're ready for more conversation, so that the opener works. If they keep their body language closed and they give you a half smile that only comes up to here, it doesn't come up to here, then she's not interested, cut and run. That's pretty much the system.
I think I look too friendly all the time. That's probably my issue.
Generally, what I find is that genuinely attractive and happy women get hit on way more than bitchy women, or of course ugly women, because if a man sees a girl that's attractive, he wants to hit on her, and if she's friendly, she looks receptive, because he doesn't know that she's nice to everyone. So he's hoping, due to optimism, she's being nice to just him. So that's why I know that a lot of my female friends that are friendly get hit on all the time. And my female friends that are not friendly, even if they're insanely hot, they will never get hit on. And then the unattractive girls that are friendly get hit on more than the attractive girls that are unfriendly. That it's not, like girls are like, I feel so lonely. I'm so fat. I should lose weight. It's like, no. Get a personality. Like personalities are way more valuable to attracting men than just getting a little bit thinner.
Yeah, I would say so in both cases.
Yeah, because I've known girls that were good looking and were bitches, and they had horrible relationships with men. And I've known girls that were over 200 pounds and were super nice, and they could have any dude they wanted. That personalities, it's so funny because girls always tell you, like, I don't really care what a guy looks like. I care about personality. It's like, well, why don't you have one? Like what? Like, why would it be any different from us? Like, I can make you thin. I can't make you smart or funny. Like, just give me something to work with here,
Touché.
All right, people are going to get mad because we're not talking about steroids, and that's all they care about. But I'd like to thank our sponsor, Fusion Regenerative Therapies, where I am the Director of Human Performance. This is the practice in which I practice medicine. We will be able to order you blood work and read your blood work and help you with therapy as needed based upon the results of your blood work. Please click the link to get a consult with me, and I can help you optimize your performance. Thank you.
Okay, steroid question. Back to the Anavar, and this will probably get asked every single time. Will Anavar cause virilization at low dosages or low duration of 5 to 10 milligrams?
No. That's a simple answer. The correct answer is, well, there's always risks associated with any drug use, even a lack of abuse.
At that dosage, realistically, no. There shouldn't be with proper dose and duration, but there's always freaks. They get the short end of the stick. And it would be virilizing.
Why would you use 3 double entendres in a row? You called yourself a short freak. It's like no one caught it but me. All right, so oh man, so the point is that we've established in previous episodes that 6 weeks of about 5 milligrams is supposed to be safer than the Todd protocol of 20 weeks at 2.5. Although my protocol is really 1 milligram indefinitely, but the caveat is I always do sublingual. I think sublingual is even faster and safer than oral, especially sublingual pre-training. Sublingual when it's not pre-training does not benefit. So I think sublingual.
Again, it's one of those things where the data, it doesn't necessarily have practical application in the context that we would be utilizing it in either.
They're not doing
two very different things.
They didn't make Anavar for bikini girls. They made Anavar for like post-surgical and post-burn. So we're using it off-label to preserve muscle in a calorie deficit while on contest prep. Then sublingually, pre-training, your muscles absorb almost all of it, and very little of it gets to your liver to get converted over and all that other BS. So that we don't have to damage the liver, the kidneys, and if it's all absorbed into the tissues, it's not being used for vocal cords or clitoris growth or any of the other unhappy consequences.
Next one was site enhancement with IGF-1 and maximizing results with timing, stacks, or food.
I would say, wow, that's a big open-ended question. So ready? Drum roll.
There's a lot of things.
Here you go. You want the most complicated answer ever? All right. So you're going to split your meals up so that it's protein and carbs are separated by 2 hours. You're going to take your GH with your protein in the muscle that you want to grow, and you're going to take your insulin in the muscle you want to grow with your carbs. So the simplest way to do this is like pick delts, because this is probably a guy who asked this question, is pick delts. And you just basically inject your delts 12 to 15 times a day, alternating GH and insulin, because the insulin will reset the receptor for the next bout of GH so that you can close your refractory window from 6 hours to 4 hours. Ipso fact, and then also by injecting the muscle, you're going to get more target on tissue for the peptides. The steroid hormones, this is not believed to be true, but there's a good data to support that you will get localized growth with the peptides, specifically growth hormone and insulin and IGF-1. So
IGF-1 is typically post-workout in the lagging areas, right? Specifically, it's always spot injection. That's how I programmed it.
I used to use IGF-1 intra-workout. So I would go to my car and I would do my heavy compounds first. And then before I started doing my high volume isolation pump stuff, I'd go to my car and I'd inject Humalog and IGF-1 in the muscle that I was going to go pump it up. Okay. Then I would go in there and I'd pump it up for an hour. Because it only lasts...
I've only utilized it post.
Yeah, because that's what makes sense for a normal, sane human. But I'm the guy who did I was doing both heads of the biceps, all 3 heads of the triceps on both arms. So I would give myself 10 injections in the middle of the arm day. Or on chest day, I would go do all 3 heads of both triceps. So, and that's just the IGF-1. That's not counting the insulin, and that's not counting the growth hormone. And obviously that's not counting the Tren. And that's not counting the fact that I was taking oral D-ball to get the most out of everything. Because I want
exploit the sensitivity at that point. You've got to, I mean, that makes sense to most people aren't going to be able to set the timing up correctly post-workout because timing is something you can really take advantage of with the IGF-1, but doing it intra-workout, that's, I like that.
Yeah, and you got to be careful because you can fall asleep behind the wheel really easy. So I usually would be eating Rice Krispie treats on the drive home. And I always make sure that I live within about 2-3 miles of the gym. I pick where I live based on what gym I want to train at. And then I get a place near that gym. Ideally, it's...
I wish I had those options here.
Yeah. Obviously, how should I put this? If I really was the expert at dating, I would be married and have kids, and I would have no options. But because I've learned everything I know about dating by doing everything wrong, and that I'm still single, and so I have nobody I have to pay for. I just have my own bodybuilding to concern myself with.
It's your female viewers. Todd's single. That's what we're coming up with right now. Is that the takeaway?
I would think that, yes, that is true. I'm very single. I just would think that at this point, it's like there must be a reason I'm single that I'm unaware of. And if I knew what the problem was, I would fix it. But I don't know what the problem is, so I can't fix it. And you're an asshole isn't a very actionable plan. It's like if I got something a little bit more nuanced of you're an asshole, then I would know what to fix at the end of each relationship. But because I don't get a very good feedback card, like if you go to Walmart, you get a fucking survey in the email that you can fill out.
Have you tried a written assessment?
I've never gotten a survey from a girl after a breakup to let me know where areas of improvement were. So that
should be a requirement for dating,
or even a dating simulator. Like if you were to go through a meta video game, like a Oculus thing, where you take a girl on the date, and the AI just tells you it's like based off of politically correct woke standards, this is everything you did wrong. Based off of female body agenda, this is everything you did wrong. So like what are you supposed to do if you're on a TV dating show? Versus like, what are you actually supposed to do to make a woman find you attractive? Which is probably completely different.
Okay. This one's from Tanner.
Oh, shit, Tanner. That's the question.
He said, Tanner said, what are the uncommon steroids that you love or hate?
I've no experience with Ment. Have you ever had any?
That was actually one of the examples he listed. I don't have a lot of input, but I had a question for you to see if you had input on one of them. Somebody had reached out to me and asked me about Cheque drops.
Okay.
I only know about this, and I know it's used in dogs. Do you know anything about its use or application in humans?
I think it's called mirabirolone or some shit. It's used for powerlifting. It's just a strength booster for powerlifting. So Anadrol I've used for powerlifting. I didn't really like it because I didn't see much bodybuilding application. If you're going to try to do something like that and deactivate the 11-beta hydroxylase enzyme so you have more intramuscular water retention, you're better off with Superdrol. So Superdrol, I do think that one's a great one, but I found that my liver started taking a beating with 20 milligrams a day. So because its anabolic rating isn't really high enough to make a difference, then the flaw outweighs the strength. So I think I did a video about this that was Anadrol versus Superdrol, and Superdrol basically wins in every way except for it has a really bad side effect profile and you can't get away with using very much of it. So you could handle 100 Anadrol better than you can handle 20 Superdrol, even though on paper Superdrol is better. It's not really usable. Halotestin, I think that halotestin is overrated. It just makes you super angry. And the psychosocial consequences of halotestin use generally outweigh any benefits. So usually people use it the last 3 days before they step on stage.
From my understanding, that was the purpose of the Cheque drops, is that They had used it because they said it helped increase aggression for fighting. And again, I've utilized, not me, I've programmed, Anadrol, Superdrol, programmed Halo. I've never seen check drops in any protocol. I know nothing about it, but they said it was very common for fighters specifically.
Maybe if they can get their hands on it. But my understanding is that there isn't much of a black market for it. So since there's not much of a demand, there won't be much of a supply. So you're probably dealing with people who are actually getting them from the Czech Republic, which would mean that they're getting the real thing. And I think that experimenting with the real thing seems like it has its applications, but for bodybuilding, like, you don't need anything fancy. For men, it's basically test and mast and GH and insulin. And if you wanted to run a ton of tests because you can't lose your hair, you would use Primo to modulate the estrogen. As far as cutting goes, it's going to be Tren, Ace, and Masteron and Anavar at the end. And you don't need to use Superdrol, but you could use Superdrol the last couple hours before the show so you could try to fill up your intramuscular water supply. Rather, loading on Superdrol versus loading on Anadrol seems to make more sense because it's injectable. Superdrol is just, you don't, like, you finish your loading, you're all carbed up, so you don't need your gastrointestinal tract to do any overtime. You're almost below maintenance for that last day, so you can empty out your intestines. Then the appetite suppression from liver trauma wouldn't slow you down. But if you were running multiple shows in a row, which is always advisable, you wouldn't want to fuck your liver on show one, because now how are you going to peak for show two and how are you going to peak for show three? Making Anavar, as usual, sublingually the best of all options. It's just a man could use 50 to 75 Anavar instead of 10 Superdrol.
No weird ones out there that you love or like off the beaten path? I just don't know enough about the off the beaten path to even speak on it, honestly. But I loved the question. I thought you might come up with something off the wall.
Tanner's like the master of weird shit. Like, he knows shit about the weirdest drugs that I don't even know exist.
I love watching his live streams.
He knows some weird shit. That is a smart guy. But yeah, I don't really like any weird shit. I'm a very vanilla guy. Like, when it comes to steroids, don't give me that look. It's like, I'm only boring when it comes to steroids. Yeah. I hope you're liking this video. I would get banned on YouTube if I showed any more of this content. So, if you want to see the rest of this video, head on over to the Rumble channel. Links below.